So I thought it'd be fun to do something a little bit different today and talk about some of the call it like paradigm shifts that we've had, some of the concepts that we've come to understand and recognize, and yeah, we'll just focus on some of the bigger ones that really have made a difference in our lives, and stuff that we refer to all the time because it was interesting. We kind of start talking about some different concepts that have been important to us along this journey and path. And as the way it always works, everything is everything. They all seem to be very closely interconnected, and in a lot of ways, the same thing said a different way. So I think that'll be really interesting to explore too. It's always fun. So we'll just jump in to some of the life-changing paradigm shifts that we've experienced and come to understand. The first one being that everything is energy.
Everything is energy.
Yeah.
The only thing is energy.
Yeah. It was wild. I'll start, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say I love saying it, everything is energy, because it still blows my mind.
Yeah, it really does.
That after I got over, sorry, I totally
No, it's fine.
here.
Yeah, you start.
Like totally the huge paradigm and perspective shift after I got kind of angry and didn't understand, like, how could everything be energy? Like, I'm touching this table, I'm touching this pen, what are you talking about? I don't understand. It took me a little while, but that's what I think you're going to get into.
Well, I'll just jump in from there and say that is why it was such a powerful paradigm shift for me, is that for so long I believed everything was real. And then to come to learn later that what I thought was like the real 3D physical world was actually just an illusion. And that it's not just some crazy hippie I don't even know what you call it.
Dream.
Yeah. There's oh, this is also the greatest scientists in the world also agree that when we look at something, like we're sitting at this table and this table is 99.999% empty space, and 0.000001 matter. And that the only reason this appears to us to be physical is because there's these really small subatomic particles, electrons and protons and whatever, moving so fast that we believe it's creating something solid, or that it is solid. So for me, this was once I started to really contemplate this idea, it was how can I take myself seriously if I'm not even here? I don't even really exist. And how can you take the world seriously? It seemed to me some days that the world was miserable. And it's a lot easier to take when you realize it's a hologram and that it's just this projection of energy.
Yeah. And for anybody who thinks that we are a little bit off our rockers, it's okay. We also didn't really believe all this too, but the scientists that are talking and explaining these things are Nassim Harriman, Billy Carson, so many other people that are on the forefront of these discoveries,
like Albert Einstein and Max Planck and a lot of really smart people.
Well, what I also I'll just say that Einstein, when we've been watching a lot of Nassim Harriman's shows on Gaia and documentaries, he's a genius. He almost figured out what Einstein wrote equations to, but didn't solve the equation. So now he's solved the equations, and it's making so much more sense, where it's everybody in the scientific community, or most people, are becoming aware that the ancient traditions of spirituality, when everybody's talking about this oneness, everything is energy. We live in a dream, as Don Miguel Ruiz says, that it's okay, they're getting it. everything can be broken down into one
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yeah.
like a void, it's a vacuum, whatever
Yes,
you want to
yes,
call it.
but it's empty space. It's
Yes.
not actually
Yeah.
a physical
Yes.
thing. It's
And-
not really matter.
And then we've created this holographic world, universe, whatever you want to call it, to learn through.
Yes.
And we have these 5 senses that allow us to see, hear, feel, touch. So that's why we're able to touch this, because in our humanness,
Yeah.
the energy, whatever's vibrating within my hand, can feel this substance as a table.
Yeah.
This substance as a pen, as a paper.
It's so mind blowing, but it's like in the same way that when you like play a video game, to that video game character, the world they're in is real. But from our perspective, looking at it from like a different dimension, we understand that it's all just playing out on a screen or 3D like headset, but that it's not really there. It's just pixels on a screen, aligned and informed in a certain way that it appears to be a world. But the character that's in that world, it's their real world. Pull back one level, that's us, and we are in this holographic universe, and we're experiencing essentially all these little pixels moving around, but to us it seems really, really real. And I believe the point of that is that we are here, like you said, to learn lessons and experience different things and grow. And that's been such an incredible thing, to be able to sit and like contemplate this mind-blowing realization really changes like my perspective on everything. And really, like I said, like I don't take the world quite as seriously, because I know it's not real and it's just energy. And then knowing that everything is energy then opens us up to so much more potential and so many more different perspectives.
Yes, I believe when it first sunk in that everything was energy, it is still something that I think about a lot, because I have to remind myself of, okay, it's as though energy is coming first and then matter's coming second.
Yeah.
And matter is material. So that is houses, it's money, it's
people, it's
right, exactly. So where this was hugely profound for me, and where I really dug into everything as energy, is through manifestation. That's how you manifest everything in the world. And for so long, I was trying to manifest, money, a different job, different things, but I wasn't connecting to the energy. I was focusing on the material, something that's outside of me, something that is tangible, something that is an object or whatever. And I wasn't placing my energy onto the energy that brings forth the material item. So we'll say money, because that's a very easy thing that I believe everybody who doesn't want more money.
Yeah.
But there is a specific energy of money that you must align to energetically, because we are energetic beings, and energetic beings mean everything is energy. So that will bring forth money. It's not working harder. It's not taking on 8 more jobs. It's not like going to, hopefully, I know some people win the lottery, but that's a 1 in a billion. So those are external material things.
Yeah.
Where it's everything is energy. It's like the energy comes first. Match your frequency to that, because everything is vibrating. That's what we mean by it. And then it will manifest.
Yes. And that's because it's all not really there. So when we think in terms of matter and like the physical material world, you think of like Joe Dispenza says all the time, like matter trying to change matter, which is also possible. Like you can make a lot of money by working a lot of hours.
Absolutely.
Or working really, really hard or doing something. But that requires a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's very similar to, I don't even know, it's not the right, I don't want to path I don't want to go down, but I just want to talk about like space and time, and thinking of time as a measure of distance in what we'd call this like the actual, we say 3D, but it's actually like a 4th dimension, because it's length, width, height, and time. So if you think of like a 3D model of something that doesn't move, that's not experiencing time. And then when things are actually moving around, time is the fourth dimension. So that we actually have four dimensions in this reality. And time is a measure of distance. And if I want to move from where I am now to where you are, it's not very far, but it's going to take time to close that gap. And it's like me traveling through space requires a certain amount of time. And that's so when you're thinking of matter changing matter, you bring in the element of time and that things need to happen. And there needs to be like this bridge of instances and all the things that happen in between where you are and where you want to be and where you're going.
For sure.
And it makes things more difficult. But we also have the idea that time is emerging from the past in a way. And I don't want to get into this too much. We have another episode where we talk about time a lot and what this means. But time is emerging from the void in each moment. So every moment, that's all there is. And then like trailing off of that is a past that almost like made it happen. So thinking in that sense, and realizing that everything is just materializing in the moment, it becomes a lot easier to almost, I'll say the word manipulate, even though it has like a negative connotation, to manipulate energy and create a new reality. And things can actually come, like they come from the void. We don't need to know necessarily where they're coming from, but things can materialize out of seemingly nothing. But it's actually infinite dense matter
Yes.
that emerges into this reality that is mostly space.
Exactly. Because we've been talking a lot about us having energy. Everything has energy. Trees has energy. The ground has energy.
Yeah.
I mean,
colors and sounds.
Like, yes, everything. Literally, there's nothing that does not have an energy to it.
I just want to touch on like while we're still on this topic, the an analogy for this, because it can be really, really hard to imagine that like what we see, like I said, this table is actually not there, and that it's, if anything, it's flickering in and out of this realm, and it's just electrons, and maybe the same electron moving all over the place really, really fast, and we perceive it as a solid thing. You can see sometimes when a car drives by, or on like car commercials, I find this like I recognize it all the time, and you'll see a car like driving along on like this like on one long shot of a car driving, and the tires are spinning really fast, and the tires are spinning so quickly that they appear to be not moving, and it sometimes looks like the car is just sliding along the ground. And I remember being young and watching commercials and thinking it was weird that the cars weren't actually driving, that they were just moving them. And then somebody told me like, oh, that's just like an optical illusion because they're moving so fast that the tires just appear to be not moving because our eyes register it. We see one thing and we perceive another. And that's just moving, we'll say like 60 miles an hour, or however like rotations per minute the tire is making to make the car go 60 miles an hour. But it's not going that fast. But that's nothing compared to the speed at which things are vibrating in this universe. They're like flickering and vibrating at the speed of sound, which is like astronomical. I can't wrap my head around how fast that is. But that is why. So if you've never noticed this before, maybe next time you see a car commercial, check it out and see. And if you look at the tires, maybe you'll notice they're spinning so fast that they look like they're not moving. Or sometimes you look at a fan spinning around, it's the same thing, and it looks like it's a solid thing, but you know it's turning. Same idea. So it's the movement causes everything. And then like in our reality, movement, as it picks up, like it starts off as heat, then it starts to like make a sound, and then it goes up in octave through each note until it's too loud for us to hear it, and then the sound goes away. But then we'll start to see color, and it starts out in like a red, and then that red gets a little brighter, and then it turns orange and yellow, and it works its way up the spectrum until we can't see it. And then I think if you follow that trajectory of energy, you eventually start to have like life forms and thoughts and things of like higher nature and higher nature.
That makes sense.
So I hope that that's a helpful analogy for people to recognize that everything is moving, even though it looks
Yeah.
it's not.
And I just want to like kind of wrap up this little portion by saying, why does this matter?
Yeah.
What's the point of it? Why is this a big paradigm shift? It, it helps change your reality.
Yes.
Because I and you, and I know among our listeners, are people who want to change and to dig deeper and to be able to understand what we were never taught.
Yeah.
We were not taught this, or maybe if we were, I just don't remember it.
It didn't make any sense. Yeah.
Right. Or didn't make any sense. It's making sense now, and it's making much more sense. And it's allowing me to understand that I do have the power to change things. Because if I'm energy and everything is else energy, then I can match it. I haven't mastered it yet. You know, I'm not a billionaire. I don't have, like, I haven't mastered it, but I'm there and I'm getting it. And every day that I learn and want to understand more, it's making more and more sense. And I also just it also helps me be connected to everything. If I'm energy, you're energy, the people are energy, you view everything as energy, which is they're different because it's different energetic charges and speeds and stuff, but it again it makes sense. Like, okay, we're all one and we're manifested differently, but there is everything is connected as well.
Like, Carl Sagan, the famous scientist, had a quote where he's like, "We are star stuff." It's like the things that make us up are the things that make up stars, and it's the same things that make up everything on Earth. And we're all the same thing. We're all the same energy. We're all the same, like I said, like subatomic particles. And we're like exchanging them all the time. Like sometimes the electrons that are appearing to be me will be the electrons that are appearing to be you, and there'll be stars, and there'll be the water, and there'll be the trees, and they're just moving, and it's energy. So like you said, like we are all the same thing. So it really, like, it's one of those perspective shifts that like changes the way you see the world.